Early, Iowa is a farming town of roughly 500 people. It's the kind of small town where everybody keeps their doors unlocked.
It's very tight-knit. Everybody knows everybody. It's very quaint.
This isn't the sort of community where you expect a home invasion to occur.
What begins as a home invasion escalates into a shooting as Tracy Richter fights to save her life and the lives of her children.
He went into that house with the intention to kill.
He was shot 9 times.
Somebody came in the house, and they tied her up, and they were choking her. My mom got to the gun and shot the other one ran off. Okay, I'm gonna get the police right away.
At approximately 6:50 p.m. on December 13th, 2001, dispatchers get a 911 call from Tracy Richter's 11-year-old son, Bert, describing an assault and a shooting that has just taken place at his home. It's an event that will make national news and shock the sleepy town of Early, Iowa. Before her life in the small town of Early, Iowa, Tracy lives in the big city of Chicago, Illinois. There she meets her first husband, Dr. John Pittman, while studying medicine at the University of Northwestern. They marry in 1988, and 2 years later have a son named Bert, but the marriage doesn't last long.
She divorces him in 1996, and then she marries Michael Roberts shortly after that.
Michael and Tracy meet online and aren't together long before tying the knot in Brisbane, Australia, where Michael's from. The divorce proceedings with Dr. Pittman are ugly and protracted, leading to an ongoing custody battle over Bert. On June 1st, 1996, John is court-instructed to pay child support, $750 per month, inflating to $1,000 per month in 1998. He still has visiting privileges with Bert. The newly married Michael and Tracy are looking for a change of scenery and want to get away from the big city.
Tracy and Michael moved to Early in 1998. They moved from one of the largest cities in the United States to probably one of the smallest. Found a quaint Victorian home in a small town.
That same year, they start an online business and have a son. Moving to Early is a chance to get away from the past and start over.
It's very tight-knit. Everybody knows everybody. The populations are between 300 and 500 people. It's largely dependent upon local agriculture. So it's very quaint, and a lot of families have lived there for generations upon generations.
But even in a new town, issues with her ex-husband, John Pittman, persist. He has visitation rights, and therefore Bert must share his time between Tracy and John's places.
Tracy isn't happy about the arrangement. John is pushing to have full custody of Bert, and Tracy is afraid she may lose her son.
In 2001, the custody case over Bert is looming. But life for Tracy and Michael in Early, Iowa is good. Michael is busy with his computer business, and Tracy has since had another child, a daughter. Then, on December 13th, 2001, less than 2 weeks before Christmas, Michael has to go out of town.
Michael was on a business trip with his business partner.
Tracy is home alone with the kids when the unthinkable happens.
911 emergency. Beacon, please send an ambulance. Okay, bye.
Tracy's son, Bert Pittman, made the 911 call. The 911 operator picked up and received what was a very frantic and hurried message that was very disjointed. The 911 technology did identify the Roberts residence as being the source of the call.
An officer is dispatched, though they have no idea what they're walking into. Within minutes, a deputy is on the scene.
He's approaching and very cautious, concerned not just for, his own safety, but the safety of the neighbors, the safety of Tracy and her children inside the home. He placed himself behind a large tree adjacent to the Roberts home and then had dialogue with Tracy, who had stepped out of the side door and communicated that not one, but two men had fled, and she pointed the direction that they had gone.
As he comes out from behind the tree cover, he looks closely in the direction that Tracy said the men fled. But oddly enough, there are no tracks in the snow. Maybe in all the commotion, she's simply confused about the direction that they actually went. His main concern now is making sure that he gets everybody inside the house so that Tracy and her kids are safe.
The deputy checks if Tracy and the children are okay and asks for details of what happened.
The scenario that she describes is that she runs into the bedroom. Somebody comes in after her and grabs her and has a sort of pantyhose or some sort of scarf around her neck and is just yanking at her.
So far between the 911 call and Tracy's bursts of information, it's not clear if there's someone still in the home. And if there is someone in the home, are they a threat?
The deputy finally gets Tracy to confirm there is someone upstairs, but she shot him several times, and she's pretty sure he's dead. A second officer arrives on the scene, allowing the deputy to leave Tracy and her kids while he sweeps the rest of the home. The officer points to the white vehicle in the driveway. Tracy says it isn't hers and that it must belong to the intruders. All the lights, save for the kitchen, appear to be off. The deputy makes his way through the house with his flashlight.
He finds a light switch at the foot of the stairs, and as he goes along, he continues to call out, announcing himself. If there is still someone there, they need to know that he's a police officer and that they need to show themselves.
The deputy slowly makes his way down the hall towards the master bedroom.
Before even getting to the bedroom, he can see that there's a body of a man on the floor near the doorway. He calls out, but there's no response, and as he gets closer, he can see why.
He's lying on the ground in a pool of blood.
The deputy can see he's been shot several times. There's very little chance that this individual is still alive. He checks for a pulse. There is none. Whoever this home invader was, he was killed by Tracy in self-defense.
There is literally still smoke in the air from the guns, and it smells like a weapon has just been fired.
The deputy calls down to the other officer, letting him know that the intruder is dead and that the house is secure.
Tracy and her children have just suffered a harrowing ordeal. It'll now be up to investigators to put all the pieces together in an effort to understand why they are the targets of this home invasion gone wrong, and how it ended in the death of this young man.
There were two figures coming up the stairs, and I saw the face of the first one come up. There was a struggle in the hallway. I was screaming, "Don't move." I eventually tired one round.
Tracy Richter meets Dr. John Pittman while living in Chicago, and the two are quickly married. They have a son together named Bert, and after a few years, they divorce. Rather quickly, Tracy is remarried to an Australian man she meets online, Michael Roberts. Their honeymoon phase is short-lived, however, as the custody war with Dr. Pittman over Bert begins. Tracy, Bert, and Michael move to early Iowa. They have 2 more kids. Life is fairly simple and quiet until the evening of December 13th, 2001, when intruders break into the home while Michael is away on business. Tracy manages to fight back, and in the struggle, one of the intruders is shot dead. With the area secured, the EMT can now enter the home. He pronounces the young man dead at 7:22 p.m.
The deputy then calls for the DCI lab team and special agents to come to the scene. There are multiple gunshots and blood spatter everywhere. There's lots here that needs thorough analysis.
Detectives try to get a statement from Tracy, but she's preoccupied, demanding to know the identity of the man upstairs that she has shot.
She keeps mentioning her ex-husband, Dr. John Pittman, certain that he's somehow involved. But the deputy knows pretty much everybody in the community, and he conveys to her that the dead body upstairs is likely Tracy's neighbor.
So Dustin Weedy was this 19-year-old kid who had some learning disabilities, one of the most easygoing, friendly, quiet people in town. And when he met Tracy Richter and Michael Roberts, Michael kind of took Dustin under his wing and mentored him.
Dustin craved, approval and attention. He didn't have many friends. He had very, very few friends. And so the Roberts at least presented as friends to Dustin. And I know that Dustin believed that everybody in that family, even Tracy, was a friend.
The revelation that she's just shot and killed her neighbor, a friend of the family's, comes as a shock to Tracy. She can't fathom why he'd want to hurt her or her children after everything Michael has done to accept him into their home.
Tracy said she didn't know who it was. She didn't know who she shot and killed, but it was Bert. At that time, when Tracy said she didn't know, Bert said something to the effect of, well, it was Dustin, Mom, don't you know? It was Dustin that we had seen. And so that's when she hyperventilated, and then they whisked her away to the emergency room.
While Tracy and her kids are taken to hospital, the deputy medical examiner arrives on the scene.
The detectives can immediately see that it is a very grisly scene. The victim is located on the ground with blood pooling around his body and multiple visible shots to his head and upper body. Additionally, there are large amounts of blood spatter throughout the room.
He notices something in the pocket of the jeans and he removes a wallet. Inside the wallet is identification that confirms the deputy's suspicion that this young man is in fact the mild-mannered neighbor, Dustin.
While Tracy awaits medical attention, detectives ask for her account of events. But Tracy isn't willing to talk to detectives just yet, and the lieutenant obliges, leaving her to the care of medical professionals for the time being.
Tracy had never given a statement to law enforcement until after she had spoken with the local paper. She didn't speak with the detectives, the State Detective Bureau. She contacted the local newspaper and asked them to come interview her, and she gave them a full-blown interview.
Tracy recounts for the reporter the deadly home invasion that she's just survived. She explains that her husband Michael is away on business. She's running a bath for her daughter when she hears a noise from downstairs.
She's upstairs, she hears people come in, and she looks down the stairs and she sees somebody.
There were two figures coming up the stairs, and I saw the face of the first one come up, and it wasn't Michael. I ran away and was going into the boys' room when I was grabbed from behind. There was a struggle in the hallway that started out in front of Bert's room. There was something around my neck. I was twisting and jerking and kicking and trying to get free, and I couldn't get free. The next thing I remember is waking up on the floor in the guest room bedroom. I heard my oldest boy yelling, and I thought I was having a bad dream. I got up And I immediately ran towards the commotion that was occurring outside Bert's room. Halfway there, I realized, what was I going to do? There were what appeared to be two figures down there.
Tracy knows she needs to fight. She beelines it to her bedroom, where she and Michael keep a gun safe.
I went between the bed and the dresser wall. I was trying to get the gun safe open, and it wasn't opening up. And then there was someone grabbing at me.
Tracy repeatedly tries the combination lock in the dark, and just when she's about to be overpowered, the safe opens.
These weren't really guns for novice people. We're talking a 440, a 357. You know, those are hand cannons. You fire that gun, you're gonna kill somebody with that gun.
I fired until the figure that was there wasn't standing there anymore. I heard my kids screaming. I reached into the gun safe, grabbed a second weapon, and then I ran down the hall to the kids' room and opened their door. And Bert almost took my head off with a baseball bat. At that point, I asked if they were okay. They said they were fine.
Then she hears moaning coming from the bedroom, and she goes back to check on the intruder. She tells reporters that at this time, she hadn't identified the person as her neighbor.
Tracy sees the man moving.
I was screaming, "Don't move, don't get up." They kept trying to get up. I eventually fired, I believe, one round.
After he fails to comply, she fires until he stops moving.
Tracy finishes her harrowing account of what happens by speculating that her ex-husband, Dr. John Pittman, is involved. At this point, there's no evidence to corroborate this theory, other than a hunch, but that may soon change. While investigators search for the unidentified man who got away, they also have the unenviable task of informing Dustin's parents that their son was shot and killed. They confirm that he leaves around 5:30 p.m. and that the white car at the Roberts house is his. Investigators look to obtain a warrant to search the car. They're hopeful there may be some piece of evidence that can illuminate Dustin's motive in this home invasion gone wrong. On December 13th, 2001, two men break into Tracy Richter's home while her husband Michael is away on business. Tracy is attacked, but manages to get to the gun safe. She kills one of the intruders in self-defense, her neighbor, Dustin Weedy. Officers meticulously photograph the home and collect evidence, including the two guns Tracy uses to kill Dustin. A search of the house reveals no forced entry, and nothing appears to be stolen. There are no signs of ransacking in any of the rooms in the house. The only room that appears to be disturbed is the master bedroom, where the shooting takes place.
The detectives realize that blood spatter is going to be important to this case and that they need to document how the blood was deposited. Looking at how the blood is deposited can help tell the story of what happened and give the detectives some insight into what took place and how it took place.
Right now, one of the biggest questions still looming is what motivated the attack. But Tracy is convinced she already knows who is behind this, her ex-husband, John Pittman. Officers obtain a warrant and search Dustin's car.
Dustin Weedy's car is parked in the driveway of the Roberts home. And in full view, lying on the seat is a journal, a notebook.
Investigators bag it for evidence to be looked at later. There's not much else of interest in the car except an old computer, but it's unlikely that this is what Dustin came here to steal.
The lieutenant is looking through Dustin's notebook when something catches his eye. He sees the name John Pittman written several times.
In the notebook is this kind of narrative in Dustin Weedy's handwriting, confirmed, about how John Pittman, Tracy's first husband, arranged this whole home invasion and the murder of Tracy and her son Bert. So two things now we have to look at. One is, how did Dustin Weedy know John Pittman? John Pittman lives in Chicago. He's never even been to Early, Iowa.
Investigators immediately request handwriting samples from Dustin's parents, careful not to bring up any mention of the notebook that was found in his vehicle. An expert is able to examine the handwriting and determines that it is a match.
There is no doubt that that is Dustin Weedy's handwriting. He wrote that narrative. If he wrote that narrative, then you have to believe that he went into that house with the intention to kill Tracy Richter Roberts and her son Bert.
While investigators are following up on the possible lead found in Dustin's notebook, his body is taken to Sioux City, where an autopsy is performed.
X-rays are taken at the autopsy, followed by a full body exam. The pathologist is able to determine that the victim, Dustin, has 9 entry gunshot wounds, as well as 8 exit wounds. 1 projectile is recovered from the body, and an additional graze wound is found on Dustin's back. The doctor notes that 6 of the 9 entry wounds are in Dustin's back, which is interesting due to the fact that the suspect, Tracy Richter, is claiming that she killed Dustin in self-defense.
And there's literally a bullet wound in the back of his ear, like he's been executed.
Every piece of evidence is carefully cataloged.
For investigators, the autopsy tells a story that doesn't line up with the one that Tracy's been telling.
This may not be an open and shut case of self-defense, after all. The lieutenant follows up on the possible lead from the notebook and gets in touch with Tracy's ex-husband, Dr. John Pittman.
He's careful not to mention the notebook. Only he and a few other investigators know about it.
It was decided at that time that they would keep that hush, that they would not disclose it in any way and disseminate neither, its contents or its existence to anybody. And figuring that the first person to talk about it, the first person to evince knowledge of its contents would have some questions to answer.
Dr. Pittman is eager to help the investigation. He answers all the questions and provides his alibi for December 13th. He tells detectives he's never spoken to or had any contact with Dustin Wade. He does tell them that he's in an ongoing custody battle for Bert. Dr. Pittman informs the lieutenant that in 1991, Tracy was charged for using a firearm in Colorado when she fired a round into the ceiling of their home. He informs him that Tracy has a history of criminal activity. Not only that, on more than one occasion, she has made accusations that he has sexually abused their son, Bert. All of those accusations have been unsubstantiated. Dr. Pittman essentially paints a picture of Tracy as a woman who would basically do anything, including leveraging her own son to get what she wants.
She wanted custody of Bert, and she knew that with her background and that John Pittman had remarried and he was living a really solid, healthy lifestyle, a good guy. She knew she was going to lose custody to him and his new wife.
Investigators look into Dr. Pittman's alibi, as well as his allegations about Tracy's history, and they find that it all checks out. They've eliminated him as a suspect, but in doing so, they've just raised more questions.
Why would his name be in Dustin's notebook? Why would Dustin attack Tracy? Who's the second attacker? Is Tracy's account accurate, or is there something she's not telling police?
The narrative isn't adding up, and as far as public perception is concerned, the residents of Early aren't sure what to believe. Tracy's story has hit the local papers, and rumors and gossip about what has really happened spread quickly.
I think there were a number of different reactions from people within the community. Some, taking, the Weedy side. Some believing that, she was a genuine victim. And I saw that the community was fairly split.
In an effort to control the narrative, Tracy and Michael appear on the Montel Williams show, where Tracy is touted as, quote, hero mom. The show is broadcast nationally.
So in the beginning days after this home invasion, Tracy is viewed as some sort of hero, that she protected her family, that she's a gun owner, she knew how to use a weapon, and, you know, we're not going to take it here in early Iowa. You know, you come into our home, we're going to protect ourselves.
Almost 1 year later, on November 28th, 2002, Dustin's dad, Brett, commits suicide at his son's grave. In the years that follow, Dustin's mom, Mona, files a case for wrongful death against Tracy, claiming that she lures Dustin in.
The civil suit was ultimately dismissed. Tracy was judgment-proof. The attorney for Dustin's estate, met with Mona, and the two of them, decided that they had gotten from the civil suit what they wanted. It wasn't money. They wanted answers and information, and it was to get this information and then give it to law enforcement.
In 2002, Tracy and her family leave the town of Early, but things with Michael have already started to sour.
Michael and Tracy divorced a few years after the shooting. The divorce proceedings drug on for years and, were very contentious, very litigious.
She begins another custody battle with Michael, in addition to the one she's still fighting with Dr. Pittman. While public perception may be on Tracy's side on the national stage, at home, that's not the case. Tracy's claim of self-defense is looked upon with skepticism. Nonetheless, years go by, and it appears that nothing more will come of the case. But not everyone has forgotten. And in August 2008, a special agent of the Department of Criminal Investigation is assigned to investigate Dustin Wheatley's murder. In December 2001, Tracy Richter claims she is attacked in her home by her neighbor, Dustin Wheatley, and a second assailant. In self-defense, she shoots and kills Dustin. She's touted as a hero mom by the press for defending her children. But the townfolk of Early, Iowa aren't convinced by her story of self-defense. And neither is the special agent, who in 2008 is assigned to further investigate the shooting death of Dustin.
One of the aha moments in this case that tells the agent they're on the right track comes when he discovers that Tracy had knowledge of the pink notebook from Dustin's car.
When the two, began the divorce proceedings, Tracy began positioning Michael as maybe the second intruder, or at least somebody that had put Dustin up to this. So she completely backed off from Dr. Pittman and had moved on to putting Michael at the forefront of being culpable for Dustin's death. Was very proactive in, manufacturing a case against Michael and taking that information and giving it to law enforcement. And it wasn't long after the two, began divorcing that Tracy walked in to the sheriff's office and said, you need to know this. I don't know if it's relevant or not, but before we divorced, Michael used to talk in his sleep. And at one point, he talked in his sleep about writing a journal with Dustin, and it was just preposterous. The law enforcement, personnel at the time, they were new because, some time had passed and there was a new sheriff and new investigators.
Tracy's comment about the notebook falls through the cracks years earlier because of personnel changes in the investigation. But in going through the records, the agent realizes that there's no way Tracy should know about it unless she had some involvement in manufacturing it.
The idea was the first person to talk about this notebook is going to be the best chance and the best opportunity that they have to solve this case. So they never let that information out.
The detectives realized that if they are going to go after Tracy for the killing of Dustin, the ballistic information is going to be crucial to the case.
It's one of the reasons why the first prosecutor in this case kind of let the case fall to the side, because he's like, how do I try this case? Where's the evidence? The woman is looked at as a hero. And for 10 years, Tracy gets away with it.
On December 19, 2008, the detectives contact Englert Forensic Consulting in reference to conducting a bloodstain pattern analysis and a crime scene reconstruction on the case. By early January 2009, Englert has received documents from the case and has conducted interviews. He and his team head to Des Moines, Iowa in January 15, 2009 to visit the crime scene and to review evidence at the Public Safety Laboratory.
The agent obtains a warrant for Tracy's former residence so that forensic consultants can analyze and reconstruct the events of December 13th, 2001.
Rod Englert and his team are joined by the deputy, who was the first responding officer, along with the special agent. Based on his recollection, he walks them through the events when he arrived on the scene in 2001. He takes them through the backyard where he first called out to Tracy to come out.
The detective recalls the events chronologically, finding Tracy seated on the floor, the semi-automatic pistol beside her. He recounts trying to get her to leave the house when a second officer arrives, allowing him to sweep the house. It's about this time that Tracy says she doesn't know who she has shot, when she is contradicted by Bert, who claims that she does, that it's Dustin Weedy. At the top of the stairs, he takes the group directly to the north bedroom. There, he says he approaches Dustin from behind to check for a pulse and does not find one. Another family now lives here, and the furniture and its location within the room has changed.
Englert and his team visit the crime scene where they rearrange the room based on photographs and measurements to how it was on the night of the murder. 2 agents stand in for Tracy and Dustin to recreate what happened. Englert uses red dots on the victim to indicate entry wounds and blue dots to indicate exit wounds.
The female agent takes a position at the south side of the bed, close to where the safe would have been. Dustin approaches. Based on Tracy's statement, Dustin attacks her from this position and she fires at him from the floor.
In her statement, Tracy indicates that she was on the south side of the bed for some of the shots fired on the night of the murder. Englert and his team run trajectory strings to the location where she said she was located. While some of the shots are consistent with having been fired from this location, it immediately becomes clear that some of the wounds to Dustin's body could not have been fired from this location.
The agent's confidence in his initial hunch is bolstered. He's got Tracy talking about the notebook. He's got the ballistics that contradict her narrative. Now all he needs is a prosecutor to take the case.
In November 2010, Ben Smith is elected as the new county attorney.
I take office. I'm 2 days into my first term, and state detective stops by and says, under the guise of, oh, I'm just introducing myself, he said, oh, by the way, when you get time, I want to talk to you about this case, about this cold case. It wasn't something I planned to even look at in the first year, and it would just pique my curiosity to the point where he's got to be embellishing. This can't be true. This can't be accurate. So I'd go get the blue book, one of the 3, open it up, and sure, as the day is long, he was accurate in what he was saying. He believed that she had gotten away with murder. And, within a couple of weeks of looking through the binders, I came to the same conclusion.
On December 13th, 2001, Tracy Richter shoots her neighbor, Dustin Weedy, 9 times, killing him. Tracy claims she is attacked and it's in self-defense. But almost a decade later, investigators re-examine the case. They hire the Englert forensic consultants. The ballistics and data they collect contradicts Tracy's version of events. With new county attorney Ben Smith in office, the agent pushes him to try the case and bring Tracy in on a first-degree murder charge. Ben Smith is in his first year on the job, and already he's taking on a high-profile murder case.
I'm green. I don't know what I'm doing. I've never prosecuted, a speeding ticket at the time, let alone, a murder.
Their first steps were to talk to Tracy, and she didn't want to talk, but she did start sending emails to Trent Valita, and she started talking about the case. So he just continued to bait her. He just continued to send her questions, and she dug herself a hole. She started contradicting what she had said earlier. So they have that. Then they get the information about the woman who says, Tracy told me the contents of the journal before they were released. That's a huge witness.
On March 30th, 2011, the special agent and DA Ben Smith interview a former friend of Tracy's who still lives in Early.
She corroborates the agent's suspicion that Tracy knew about the notebook. She tells them that after the incident, Tracy told her that police found a notebook in Dustin's car. She said Dr. Pittman was the one who brought all of this into play. All of the stuff in the notebook suggested that Dr. Pittman was behind it.
The agent knows investigators keep the notebook a secret. Therefore, the only way Tracy could know about it is if she planted it there. The former friend agrees to testify to all of this at trial.
The first thing that comes to mind is, well, Dustin Weedy definitely wrote that note. He definitely wrote that John Pittman had hired him to go in there and kill Tracy and kill the kid and all of this. So now we have to ask the question, okay, if Tracy's guilty, how did Dustin Weedy write that note? They find out that Dustin Weedy had been going over there during the day. So Tracy kind of worked on him for months leading up to this, quote, home invasion. There's every indication that, of course, she used sex to lure this kid into playing a game. Let's play a game. Let's sit down and let's write a story. Remember now, Dustin Weedy, he has some learning disabilities, so she took advantage of that.
On July 26, 2011, Tracy is arrested in Omaha on a warrant from Sac County, Iowa, of first-degree murder. She is transported to Sac County, and her trial begins 3 months later, in October. Prosecutors walk the jury through their findings in the case, breaking down Tracy's claim of self-defense and painting a picture of what really happens to Dustin Weedy.
They discuss the pink notebook, which Tracy should not have known about unless she had some part in fabricating it. They point to it as motive. Tracy wanted full custody of Bert, so she either tricked or coerced Dustin into writing it in order to vilify Dr. Pittman.
They also addressed the alleged strangulation marks on her neck.
The doctor who did the autopsy of Dustin, he would also go on to testify that the ligature marks around Tracy's necks were fabricated, that they were rug burns, that they could not have caused her to lose consciousness as she claimed.
But the real nail in the coffin is the forensic consultant, Rod Engler.
Rodney Engler then, took his findings and, oriented the jury as if they were sitting in Tracy's bedroom. Step by step, shot by shot, he would take me and move me in the direction that Dustin, according to the science and the forensics, Dustin's path and the sequence of events and the shootings of where he was at.
There's some to the back of the head that just doesn't fit this at all, because I know that the head was on the floor, as I will show you. So we've got 4, and we know that he's been hit 9 times. So we also have 4 defects on the floor.
Mr. Engler, you said Dustin suffered 9 gunshot wounds. Can you account for the other 5 gunshot wounds?
Yes, I can. As he is down and going down to the floor, there's a shot, number 4, in the right neck. And in my opinion, based upon the gouges in the floor, when the shot goes through the neck and comes out and creates one of the gouges. He is shot 1, according to the medical examiner here, this will go out of the left ear. Number 2 and number 3 are in the back of his neck. And we have blood patterns that support this. There's a blood pattern in a cone shape coming this direction. There's another blood pattern, very elongated, coming this direction towards the dresser, and a third coming to the north against the closet door. Wet blood patterns. But then there's a 4th. And the 4th is like jello that's been getting coagulated blood. It just went all over the room.
When you're looking at from the east wall, was there a dresser that was significant to you, Mr. Engler?
Yes, sir, because some of the blood is coagulated, which is different mass. Does not do the geometric patterns that you see here. It's hit the floor, some has hit the face of the dresser, on top of the dresser, and all the way up to the ceiling on the east wall. That takes a lot of energy, but it's shooting into something that has heaviness to it, mass to it. It's coagulated blood. The fibrogen is out of it. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes for that to occur.
It's very, very powerful evidence. It's easy to say, yeah, she fired a bunch of shots, some connected. But to actually see where she was at, or at least according to her, and where the science said she was, it left a lot for the defense to try to fix.
So the jury took 4 hours and 20 minutes and came back and said they had a verdict. So if you include a lunch in there, that's 3 hours in a murder trial that went on for weeks.
The jury found Tracy guilty of first-degree murder.
She is sentenced to life in prison.
I think the community reaction to the verdict, was just as mixed as, it was days after the shooting. I think some people still believe that Dustin was the aggressor. Not too many, though. Not as many as there were at the outset. Tracy's family, steadfast in their belief that she's innocent. But Mona's, her tears in the months that preceded the trial, and her heartache was, it stuck with me. And I felt more relief for them, because for years, their son was the aggressor. Their son was the perpetrator of this heinous offense, and we find the defendant guilty, and by the jury returning those words, it completely, exonerated Dustin's character and gave the Weedy family at least an avenue, or put them one step closer to getting whatever closure is for a murder.
In the Big Easy, fans expect their newscasters to report the news, not to make it.
This lady's laying here, bleeding from her head all over the place.
Liz Marinelo was shot in a parking lot after leaving her therapist's office. Police on the scene believed at the time that it was a robbery.
It was quite devastating to us. It really shocked the community, scared the community.
In a city that knows death and disaster, you can only be sure that today's bad news is going to be tomorrow's unbelievable headline. New Orleans is founded in 1718 by French colonists and becomes part of the United States in the Louisiana Purchase of 1803. It lies along the Mississippi River and is the most populated city in Louisiana. New Orleans' history of colonial rule brings numerous cultures and traditions into one space. Voodoo is synonymous with New Orleans, created by enslaved West Africans who merged their religious practices with local Catholicism. Nicknamed the Big Easy, New Orleans is known for a slower, simpler, and easygoing vibe. Thursday, August 31st, 2006. A sultry day in Metairie, Louisiana. a suburb right next door to the Big Easy. Mary Elizabeth Liz Marinelo attends a regular counseling session.
She was visiting a therapist in Metairie, a well-traveled, well-populated area, just right outside of New Orleans, literally about 2 minutes from New Orleans.
She had sought counseling, and there was a counselor that she went to see at the Metairie Towers on Metairie Road. And on August 31st, 2006, she walked out of the building, and a scruffy man came up and fired 2 shots directly into her face.
She is shot point blank only steps from her car. Liz falls to the cement and lies in a pool of her own blood.
The scene of where Elizabeth was shot was in the parking lot of an office building. The gunshots alerted several people who came over. The police were called immediately. Everybody was there quite quickly.
In Parish, number 1, after 58, may I help you?
Ma'am, I'm on Metairie Road behind Metairie Towers in the parking lot. This lady's laying here, bleeding from her head all over the place. It looks like she's been shot on the side of her head.
Okay, we'll get someone over there, okay?
Oh, Jesus.
Liz is alive. As they await the paramedics, police talk to terrified witnesses to identify the shooter.
Perpetrator was sort of a scraggly man who rode away on a bicycle. He had been panhandling in the neighborhood.
People report seeing a tall, thin man in a long-sleeved shirt, wearing a beard and mustache, who has the appearance of a vagrant.
This is a time in New Orleans when crime is way up, and to police, this looks like just another robbery gone wrong. But there's just one problem with that story.
There was nothing missing. There was nothing missing from her purse, nothing missing from her truck.
Investigators at the scene find 2 cartridge cases that belong to a .38 caliber firearm.
This could be a failed robbery attempt, or worse, an unmotivated attack of extreme violence. The ID in her wallet tells police her name, and that last name, Marinelo, has a familiar ring to it. Mary Elizabeth Marinelo, known as Liz, is a 45-year-old mother of a 10-year-old daughter and is recently divorced.
She was from Mississippi. She moved here. She met her first husband. She got divorced from him.
A healthcare professional, Liz is a vibrant woman who loves movies and attends plays.
She worked at Children's Hospital as a respiratory therapist, and all her patients had nothing but fantastic things to say about her.
Liz recently is in the public spotlight. 2 years earlier, she meets famous New Orleans sportscaster Vince Marinelo.
They started dating in 2004, where they met at a charity event at a local bar and music venue, the Rock and Bowl.
The bowling alley and dance hall is a popular spot in New Orleans for Zydeco music.
One night in January 2004, they were having some Elvis impersonators. And when Vince Marinelo saw Liz from across the room, he was smitten. And he asked her to dance, and after that, I think it was the next day or 2 days later, he sent her flowers. Their courtship was kind of awkward because he was 66 years old and she was 41, and she recognized that age difference. When he sent her flowers on Valentine's Day of 2004 and asked her on a date, she decided she would go.
Even though Vince is over 20 years her senior and known for his toupee, he has a flamboyant style and an undeniable confidence. He dazzles her by telling her about his fortune, law degree, and even hints at fascinating connections, including television personalities, police, and even the mafia. A whirlwind courtship results in marriage only 6 months later, on October 23rd, 2004.
So Vince was a well-known, well-respected, and well-liked newscaster here in the New Orleans area. He had an emphasis on sports, was very knowledgeable, and really knew everyone in town, especially connected to the sports community.
And he gains even more public respect when disaster hits. August 29, 2005. Hurricane Katrina hits New Orleans. The hurricane's 19-foot storm surge breaches the city's levees. When New Orleans floods, Vince Marinelo stays on the air, giving life-saving updates and reassuring residents as they call in, and giving words of comfort to the dislocated.
He actually got on the air and was broadcasting to people, kind of saved some people's lives while he did that.
He was one of the people that stayed behind and reported on the aftermath of Katrina and just the horrible effects on everything. And I think that took a toll on him, as it did everyone who remained in New Orleans at that time.
This May-December romance is a second chance for both Vince and Liz, and they're a dream couple, beloved by friends and admirers. And now that dream is crushed. Liz struggles for her life while a shooter is on the loose.
You know, overall, the community, I think, was initially shocked by this incident. Just a shooting that took place along a very nice stretch of suburban Metairie, sort of a well-to-do neighborhood where there's not a lot of crime.
It's hours later when police track down the victim's husband.
This was actually in Jackson, Mississippi, which is a couple of hours outside of New Orleans. He was with some friends watching the Saints game.
Police inform Vince Marinelo that his wife is in hospital, fighting for her life. And then, investigators have a breakthrough.
The office building where Elizabeth was shot had surveillance cameras where they captured the person they believe was a perpetrator on surveillance cameras, pacing around and doing like a lot of people, folding his arms.
The surveillance video shows a man fitting the description of a vagrant lurking in the parking lot 30 minutes before Liz arrives. Immediately before she leaves the building, though, the perpetrator moves to an area where Liz was shot.
Video and witness descriptions point police to a prime suspect, a man that has been spotted in the area that fits the description.
There was one individual who lived in a neighborhood near where Elizabeth was shot. He'd been panhandling in the building in which Elizabeth had visited, and he had gone to the church directly across the street and spoken to the church secretary about getting some handouts. We looked into the gentleman's background. He was a heroin addict who is currently at large.
Police must find this man fast. He's armed and could kill again.
Witnesses describe seeing a man putting a bicycle into the trunk of a white Ford Taurus.
Investigators search the vehicle and find a box of 9mm cartridges in the glove compartment.
If there's a reason to kill somebody, hurting your child might be one.
Liz Marinelo is known as half of a New Orleans celebrity couple, the recent wife of a famous and beloved sports newscaster. She's shot twice in the face by a disheveled gunman as she leaves a therapy session, and the suspect escapes on a bicycle. As Liz fights for her life, police match the description to a well-known area panhandler and go on the hunt for the suspected shooter. The man is wanted by police.
He had several open attachments for missing cord. Of importance is the fact that the perpetrator who shot Elizabeth rode away on a bicycle. This gentleman had several bicycles in his backyard.
Police converge on the suspect and arrest him. On Friday, September 1st, 2006, in the early hours after her attack, Mary Elizabeth Marinelo succumbs to her injuries.
She passed away at the hospital around 2 o'clock in the morning.
The case is now one of cold-blooded murder. The suspect, who has been apprehended by police, is interrogated. Not only does he match the description of the perpetrator, he owns several bicycles, which are seized by police for forensic testing.
The police anxiously await the results, but after a thorough forensic examination learn that there is nothing to link the vagrant and his bicycles to the murder of Liz Marinelo.
In the meantime, the widower, Vince Marinelo, makes an appearance at police headquarters with his lawyer to make a statement about his whereabouts at the time of the murder.
For the record, could you state your full name, please? Vincent J. Marinello. And you agreed prior to this interview to come down and participate in an interview regarding the shooting death of your wife, Elizabeth Marinello. Is that correct? Ex-wife. Ex-wife. Okay. Aside from the terminology ex-wife, you were explaining that.
Yes, that's correct.
Interestingly, police learn it is very recently that Liz and Vince have become estranged.
Vince, when were you notified of Elizabeth's death?
Last night, August the 31st, about 10:15, 10:20.
At the time, were you aware that she was dead or just shot?
I was not aware at all.
After you received that information, what did you do?
I think I was in shock. I don't know what I did. I guess if you want to describe me, I was in stunned disbelief.
Liz is no stranger to marital problems.
Elizabeth had been married before Vince, and she was in the middle of a very contentious custody battle with a minor child. He had accused Elizabeth of abusing the child, which is, if there's a reason to kill somebody, hurting your child might be one.
And there are more hints of abuse by Liz.
There was an incident where Marinello claimed that Liz attacked him and scratched him. There was a police report in the Harahan Police Department of abuse.
Police learn that because of alleged abuse by Liz against her daughter, her ex-husband files a petition to reopen custody matters. But Liz and her lawyers are no-shows.
Police turn their line of questioning back to Vince.
Do you have any idea who shot Elizabeth?
No, I don't.
Did you shoot Elizabeth?
No, I didn't.
Do you own a firearm?
Yes, I do. A 9mm Smith & Wesson. I bought it at Elliott's gun shop.
A 9mm would not match the .38 caliber shell casings found at the scene of the murder. Police want to hear from Liz's ex-husband. He claims that their divorce is amicable and believes the incidents of abuse Vince refers to are more inappropriate moments than dangerous behavior on Liz's part. Police want to know if Liz's ex-husband owns a gun. He states that he does not. Now that the vagrant has been discounted, investigators again review all possible clues.
Witnesses describe seeing a man putting a bicycle into the trunk of a white Ford Taurus, but police are unsure whether this incident is related to the shooting.
Investigators check on Vince's alibi for the time of the murder, and it turns out Vince has a standing date to watch sports with a friend.
He watched every game that was on TV. If he wasn't there in person, he was certainly watching on TV. He had some close friends in Mississippi. He went to stay with them. He was living in a trailer. He didn't really have a TV at home.
The time it would take Vince to drive to his friend's home would make him a very unlikely suspect. However, something isn't adding up.
Forensically, the sheriff's office was able to determine that Ms. Marinello was killed by a .38 caliber bullet, which is one of the most common guns that are used. There are a dime a dozen, especially here in the South and especially in Louisiana.
Detectives investigating the case went to the gun shop and retrieved a receipt for that 9mm handgun. An employee at the gun store revealed to investigators that Vince had come in with a .38 caliber 5-shot revolver.
He remembers the encounter clearly because he recognizes Vince as his favorite sports broadcaster from television.
The employee tells detectives that he had inspected and test fired that revolver that Vince had brought in.
The clerk shoots 5 rounds into a test tube, examines the cartridges and informs Vince one of them has a dog bone fracture, or a stress fracture. The clerk scrubs and oils the gun for Vince.
Vince had been to a gun store at some point in 2004, which is not a crime. We're here in Louisiana. Louisiana is an open carry state. Right to own guns and possess guns are ingrained in our state constitution.
But there is more to the exchange. Officers are surprised when the clerk hurries out to the parking lot to have a private word with them.
The employee asked the detectives, "Are you looking for some information on 158 grain nyclad ammunition?" Police want to know why a gun shop clerk correctly guesses the type of ammunition that killed Liz Marinelo.
Liz Marinelo is shot point blank in the face by what appears to be a vagrant. Hours later, she succumbs to her injuries. Her recent marriage to famous New Orleans sportscaster Vince Marinelo is going through a vicious annulment. When the prime suspect turns out to be a false lead, police dig deeper and get a big surprise from a staff member at a gun shop where Vince Marinelo recently shops.
The employer revealed to investigators that Vince had purchased a box of 50 nylon-coated bullets. Vince had said he had wanted the best stuff available. These nylon-coated bullets, also known as KTW, were produced from 1960 to 1990. The bullet itself was either brass or steel. The coating on top of it was to protect the gun that it was being fired through from having the barrel eroded by the hard metal of the brass or the steel. It's not actually the nylon coating that allowed it to penetrate better, but it was actually the material that was used for the bullet portion. Because these bullets were very unique and they were found in the autopsy, then it gave investigators all the more reason to go and look further into where these bullets were purchased. Detectives, during their investigation, come to the realization that Elliott's gun store is the only store that sells that nylon-coated ammunition. If an individual has those nylon-coated bullets, and then there's nylon-coated fired bullets in an individual, well, naturally you would go ahead and be able to piece it together that it is possible that whoever purchased those nylon-coated bullets fired them into the victim.
The gun shop visit focuses authorities on a new prime suspect.
Hey, maybe we ought to start looking at the husband, because when you look sometimes at victimology, it's always somebody closest to the victim that commits the crime.
Elizabeth was visiting her therapist. One of the issues she was talking to the therapist about was her marital problems with Vince. They were not married for a long time, but they were having some difficulties. And I think that immediately makes detectives focus on a spouse.
And police find there is more to this famous sportscaster than the persona seen in the public eye.
Vince Marinelo was raised in the 9th Ward, which has a specific dialect that they use. It's more like Brooklynese.
Marinello was Italian. At one point, the Italian community was quite prominent in the French Quarter.
And because he spoke with this type of dialect, it endeared him to the New Orleans people. He started every one of his programs with, "Hello, everybody." He was a pretty good sportscaster in his day. He was a character. He was a character.
He's famous for many years, but as he ages, he's moved to radio to make way for young up-and-comers in television. This is a demotion for Vince. But in August 2005, New Orleans is ravaged by Hurricane Katrina, which floods more than 80% of the city.
Post-Katrina, he was still working at WWL Radio. I think it was the only radio station that was still open at the time. And they were handing out news. They were telling people where they could get food, how to apply for FEMA relief, generally what was going on in particular areas. And he did a great job doing that.
Vince never leaves his post during the disaster.
He was also an announcer at the fairgrounds for horse racing. He was familiar with New Orleans sports, more than I think a lot of other announcers would be.
When Vince meets the much younger Liz, he is relentless in his pursuit of her.
When they first met and they started to fall in love, he told Liz, look, I got $3 million in bonds and they're getting ready to mature, and you know what? You don't have to work the rest of your life.
Liz is swept away.
They were married in October of 2004, but all the attention had to be on Marinelo. He had a makeup artist that was at the wedding that was putting makeup on him. Every time it would crack or it would leak or something, he would have the makeup artist come up and put the makeup on him. He adored the woman, but it was more of an obsession than anything else.
The too hasty wedding sours rapidly.
Later on, there were notes found where he wrote notes to Liz which were very abusive, like, you know, you didn't compliment me on my shirt, you didn't compliment me on how I looked today, and things of that nature. Liz realized that she was living a lie with this man.
But things become irreparable when Liz discovers that when she and Vince get married, Vince is still married to his first wife, Andrea.
She discovered that he had not moved all of his stuff to her house, and he was still living with his wife, Andrea, who had filed a lawsuit against him because he got money fraudulently using her name somehow. That was the straw that broke the camel's back.
In Louisiana, there's a procedure in which most divorces take place, in which the plaintiff obtains two judgments: a preliminary default judgment, which was obtained prior to Vince's marriage to Liz, but subsequent to that preliminary default judgment, a confirmation of that judgment has to take place, which makes the preliminary default judgment final. That had not taken place.
She filed for divorce with all the other lies that had been piled on top. She took a trip to New York, and she didn't tell him why she was going. She was actually going to meet Marinelo's brother, Peter. And Peter told her, look, he doesn't have $3 million. The only money he gets is Social Security and the money from the radio station.
Even though Vince was successful, he was not successful at keeping his money.
Marinelo also had a penchant for telling tall tales. He said he had links with the mafia. He had a law degree. He never went to college, so he never had a law degree, but he told people that's what he did. She was wondering, had he ever told her the truth?
As police investigate Vince Marinelo more deeply, something about his gestures strike a chord of recognition.
The office building where Elizabeth was shot had surveillance cameras where they captured a person they believe was a perpetrator on the surveillance cameras. The person is unrecognizable. Nobody could look at that tape and say that's Vince Marinelo. Or could they say it's anyone else in particular? Just looked like a homeless fellow pacing around and doing like a lot of people, folding his arms.
But it is just these movements that make police look twice.
The district attorney's office had obtained some other surveillance footage of Vince Marinelo.
While he was waiting to make his statement, a video camera happened to catch him walking in his mannerisms.
He was walking around with his arms folded.
It was the mannerisms that he exhibited that kind of caught the police's attention, and they made the connection that he may have been in a disguise and he may have committed the murder at that time.
Police wonder if Vince Marinelo is actually the vagrant who shot and killed Liz. Police discover Vince has had a FEMA trailer, commonly given by the United States government as temporary housing, assigned to victims of natural disasters. Vince Marinelo has had his FEMA unit since Hurricane Katrina hit.
They got a search warrant for his FEMA trailer.
When investigators arrive at the FEMA trailer, a clue from the initial crime scene comes into focus.
A witness had told investigators seeing a white Ford Taurus, a similar car, at the scene of the crime in which an individual was trying to put in a bike.
And Marinelo's car reveals gunshot residue.
There's two types of gunshot residue when we're dealing with firearms. The first type is expelled through the front of the gun, through the muzzle of the gun. It's known as muzzle to target gunshot residue. The primer area is initially struck by the firing pin. When that primer is struck, it sends a spark into the powder to detonate the cartridge to fire the bullet down the gun. Well, that primer has certain materials in it that are shock sensitive that are expelled on the rear portion of the gun. They're expelled not only onto the person's hand, but an environment in close proximity to where the individual was fired the gun. When they test for primer gunshot residue, there are 3 possible conclusions that you can come to if an area or a person is positive for gunshot residue. They are: the person fired a gun, the person was in close proximity to another individual who fired a gun, or the person was in an environment where barium and antimony and lead were present. It's very easy to cross-contaminate an area. If you had gone out shooting and you touched something, it's very easy to transfer it.
And his explanation was, well, I had fired the 9mm. Because when he went to the gun store to buy the bullets, I think he fired it a couple of times. That's the explanation that he gave, that he had fired the weapon before. And it got on his fingers or something, and he got it all over the car.
Investigators search the vehicle and find a box of 9mm cartridges in the glove compartment. They come to the realization that those cartridges are inconsistent with those used to kill Liz Marinelo.
Officers enter with a warrant.
When they went to the FEMA trailer, they found the list, and the list was very interesting.
Vince, being in the media, took down lists and made notes for everything.
And this list, sitting out in plain sight, is much more interesting than police could ever have imagined. There is plenty of mutual acrimony and an impending divorce between Vince and Liz Marinelo when she is shot to death by what appears to be a vagrant. A gun shop sales clerk informs detectives that he sells Vince Marinelo the kind of bullets Liz is shot to death with.
And when police compare footage of the vagrant with footage of Vince, they have cause to wonder whether Vince killed his wife in disguise.
They obtain a warrant and conduct a search of his trailer.
When they went to the FEMA trailer, they found the list.
Vince Marinelo writes 2 pages of what investigators refer to as a to-do list for himself.
Vince was a meticulous note-taker, being in the media for so long.
The list includes what to wear: mustache, black tennis shoes, gloves, and how to dispose of evidence. Bike, paint, clothes, burn, gun, river on the way to mama.
On the second page, there is a map of the parking lot where Liz Marinelo is shot.
Vince Marinelo had written down on the list, contact Harry Lee, who was the sheriff. Now, why would you want to contact Harry Lee? And it was very planned out, very methodical.
Detectives believe this to-do list is as good as a confession.
And then when they started investigating Marinelo, they found out that he went to a costume shop and he wanted to buy a mustache. And they asked him, do you want a beard? No, I already have one.
Police believe this is enough evidence to arrest Vince Marinelo for murder.
They thought it was a homeless man, but then they put 2 and 2 together when they thought, they found out all these places that he went. Finally, they believed they had a really strong, viable suspect in Vince Marinelo.
On September 7th, 2006, 69-year-old Vince Marinelo surrenders to authorities and is booked into the Jefferson Parish Jail in Gretna on second-degree murder charges. News of this very public figure's arrest makes a huge media splash. Astonished friends and fans reel as the details of the case become known.
And people were stunned because they thought, hey, this was just a guy that people kind of laughed at a little bit, who's doing the sports, and then all of a sudden, wow, he's being arrested for murder. He was in jail on a suicide watch for a while because they had a bail hearing coming up. So he was trying to figure out who he was going to call to get the bail money.
But his friends are unwilling to put up their homes to make bail for Vince Marinelo.
And Marinelo was was mad about that. He's very bitter about that. He said, you know, if my friend had committed it, I don't care who he was, if he was the Pope, I would have put up my house and things. But I think at that point, a lot of people were just not convinced that he was innocent.
As the case goes to trial, Marinelo's attorneys request a change of venue due to the publicity surrounding the case.
There was no way Vince Marinelo was going to get a fair trial in Jefferson Parish.
The request is granted.
So the incident took place in Jefferson Parish. However, the trial actually took place in Lafayette, Louisiana. Lafayette is in the heart of Cajun country. Vince had some attorneys who were helping him free of charge before then. But once Vince was indicted, the case was too big to handle for free. He had no money at the time. He simply had no money, like a lot of people find themselves at some stage in their lives. And he qualified for our services. The court appointed the public defender's office, and we took the case. This was one of the most media-intensive cases I've ever handled. The media was present at every court hearing, every status hearing. If we were walking to the courthouse to pick up an extra police report, there were 3 reporters out there. Media scrutiny was all over this case. It was on the news every night.
Defense say the crime can't be proved because the CCTV footage doesn't depict Vince's face. The prosecution vows that by the end of the trial, quote, there will be no doubt in your mind that he is the one who committed this crime. But it's anyone's guess how the trial will go.
They connected him to the weapon, but they couldn't find the weapon. But they found a lot of circumstantial things there that really brought the case full circle.
Without having the firearm to definitively say that those bullets came from that gun, and then to tie that firearm back to the individual, the suspect, is very difficult.
With circumstantial evidence, with no murder weapon, can the prosecution make the case against Vince Marinelo stick? Vince Marinelo goes to trial for the brutal shooting murder of his wife, Liz Marinelo. There are similarities between Vince's physicality and that of the footage of the killer vagrant, and what appears to be a murder, quote, to-do list found in Vince's trailer. But defense argues that all of the prosecution's evidence is purely circumstantial, and Vince is an innocent man.
They didn't have the weapon, so they couldn't really match him to the weapon. Like I said, there was a lot of circumstantial evidence that put him at the scene of the crime.
Defense argues that it cannot be determined when the so-called checklist is written. There are alternate ways to interpret it that may not necessarily refer to murder.
He knew he was a suspect as a spouse of the person that was killed, and he had plans to go meet with the sheriff, and he created a list for things that he wanted to talk to the sheriff about. Some of the things on the list to talk to Sheriff Lee about coincided with the murder of Liz Marinelo. Some had nothing to do with the case whatsoever. And the prosecutors pointed to the jury at the things that related to the murder of Elizabeth. We pointed to the things that had nothing to do with the murder whatsoever.
Vince's lawyer questions whether Vince actually purchases a disguise to dress as the vagrant, since Vince wore hairpieces regularly and was known to frequent hair shops. It is a strong defense, but the tide begins to turn against Vince Marinelo.
The district attorney played the 2 surveillance tapes side by side to try to show that that was the same person.
A former handyman of Marinelo's takes the stand, who has a conversation with Vince one day at the Marinelo's home before the murder.
Marinelo asks, "Can I put a silencer on a .38? And he thought that kind of strange when he asked him that.
The handyman testifies that Vince shows him a revolver, which matches the murder weapon.
The white car found at the FEMA trailer is a ringer for the one spotted near the crime scene.
He was seen putting the bicycle in his trunk by a teacher at a school that was down the street.
Testimony from the counselor reports that Vince knows of his estranged wife's standing appointment at the office building between 3 and 3:50 p.m. on Thursdays. Knowing the time Liz is to exit the building can explain why the perpetrator locates to the area near to where Liz is shot with perfect timing.
Vince was very well respected and well liked, and he really was. Vince had a lot of friends, knew everybody all over town.
But his comrades start to jump ship. Vince's alibi is blown when his friends of over 25 years admit that Vince, in fact, arrives later to their home than they initially report on the evening of the murder.
The alibi was falling apart.
When Vince is informed of Liz's shooting, he admits that he makes no attempts to contact the hospital or check on Liz Marinelo's daughter, his stepchild. But Vince's cell phone records become key.
It was quite devastating to us, to be honest. This was the first case in Jefferson Parish in which cell phone records were used in a criminal case. They are routinely used in every serious case now, but this was the first one back in 2008. They were able to ping off of towers, and the prosecution tried to show that through Vince's cell phone records that his timeline and his statement to the police did not add up to where the cell phone records suggested he probably was at that time.
What I think really clinched it for the jury, and what prosecuting attorneys always hope for, is that the defendant will testify.
Vince takes the stand.
And when he got up there, it was very arrogant. It was very nonchalant, not a lot of emotion. I think he wanted the attention, no matter if it was negative or positive here. He was bragging about his hotel room, how he had a microwave, he had access to a jacuzzi. You're on trial for your life here, and you're bragging about this. You know, I'm not going to say it was public opinion. I think the evidence strongly pointed to him being the murderer.
It turns out the physical fight between Liz and Vince that he reports to police actually happens because Vince has pinned Liz's daughter to the wall, and Liz has to fight him to get him off.
Assistant district attorneys later described Marinelo as a narcissistic, egotistical, self-centered person. The jury did not deliberate for long before they came back with a verdict.
On December 13th, 2008, after a 2-week trial, the jury makes their judgment.
Vince was ultimately convicted as charged, convicted of second-degree murder, which in Louisiana is a mandatory life sentence. Vince was sentenced to life without parole.
The jury needs only 90 minutes of deliberation.
Back then, a typical jury in Louisiana would take about 2 hours to reach a verdict.
But some believe the sentence does not reflect the crime.
He knew exactly what he wanted to do. He had a map, bought the bullets, bought the disguise. And to me, that was premeditated, but he got second-degree murder. People got to see who he really was. The family really chastised him at the sentencing hearing. He didn't show any remorse whatsoever, at all.
I would say the cell phone records were the most detrimental to him. I do not think they pinpointed to his guilt, but they certainly did undermine his credibility with the jury.
And in this particular case, the evidence being those nylon-coated bullets not only were sold by a specific gun store, but they were in the victim, lend to the fact that the case is unique in that. And it aided in the investigation, I'm sure, for the detectives.
I think he thought that his connections with the police department were going to get him out of this trouble. I believe his motive, and a few other people that I've spoken to, including some of Liz's friends, were that when Liz discovered that he was a bigamist, he didn't want his reputation ruined. And he figured if he got rid of her and they could not find out who did it, then his reputation would stay intact. All this information that Liz had probably would have denigrated his career.
The prosecutors really tried to stress that Vince was concerned that Liz was going to paint him as a bigamist. Vince believed he was divorced at the time he married Liz.
I don't want to see Liz forgotten either, such a sweet person, and to have her life taken away from her like that because Vince Marinelo wanted her as a possession. She was a very angelic individual. I think it was his relentless pursuit of her that finally it was by attrition that she went out with him and eventually married him. I think this is one of the very few cases in New Orleans criminal history that the truth was it came out. There was no spin to it or anything like that.
Vince Marinelo subsequently appeals his conviction, and it is upheld by the Louisiana Third Circuit Court of Appeals, but the Louisiana Supreme Court declines to hear his appeal.